Hey guys, so today I decided to do a how to bake video, and this is just basically going for my girls who don't really know how to bake, or they don't even know what baking is. So this is from my perspective what baking is and how to bake and how I do my own baking and blah blah blah. So baking is basically placing a powder over a certain area over your face, whether it be your highlighted areas or all over. And what it does is set your highlighted area or your foundation in place. It holds that makeup right there so it doesn't budge, it doesn't move. And it also, far as like if you're placing it under your highlighted areas, it gives it that extra pop to your foundation. But for me, it does those things, and it also makes sure that, which I just said, it makes sure that your highlighted areas or your face, it just doesn't move. Drag queens, they like pat it all over their face, and basically baking came from drag queens. They bake their whole entire face because they're usually like, you know, performing, and they want their foundation to stay in place and not move whatsoever or last for, you know, 5 more extra hours. So I really love baking. Sometimes, you know, I go without baking because sometimes baking could be a little bit extra. I feel like, you know, I bake when I'm going out. If I'm not really just like going out, I'm just gonna be around, you know, family and friends and stuff like that, I may not bake. But if I want to, you know, have them looking at me sideways like, "Bitch, you really beat," I'm gonna probably bake. So there's so many different baking powders that you could possibly use. Some of the ones that I use are the Cogendo powder, and this is the Cogendo powder, and it comes in this kind of container. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is like $40 something. It's actually really worth it. But yeah, I use it entirely too much. Then one of the most popular powders is the Laura Mercier powder, and it comes in a container like this. Laura Mercier on the front little area. Then some other people use the air-spun powder, which is the very cheapest alternative to a baking powder that you could possibly get. You can get all those other two from Sephora. You can get air-spun powder from Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, any little drugstore area. You have to really kind of ask them where is the powder, because they usually don't keep a lot of these powders in stock, because people, you know, drag queens and, you know, us that are just finding out about it, we kind of come in there and snag it up. But yeah, it's always kind of hidden. So just ask the cashier or somebody, you know, where's the air spun powder. And usually it's an older person that really knows where this powder is. Yeah, so yeah, I am going to, and also another really good baking powder, and you've probably seen this probably the most. That is the Midnight Banana powder, and you probably see it the most out of anything ever. The Midnight Banana powder or the Sasha Buttercup powder. They're both yellow in color, and they're really good for, you know, darker tones like my color, even darker than that. You know, a lot of us really use that. Oh, excuse me. So today I'm going to be baking with my air-spun powder and a little bit of my Midnight Banana powder. Whenever you're baking, you can use whatever you have or whatever, you know, you feel comfortable using. A lot of people tell you it's probably best. I just made a huge mess. A lot of people tell you it's probably best to use if you have a beauty blender, because you might see a lot of people using their beauty blender. But you can also use a triangle sponge. You can use a brush. It's just like I said, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Today, I'm going to use my beauty blender because I'm basically done with my foundation. And like I said, I'm going to be using my Midnight Banana powder and my air sponge. I'm going to just mix equal parts of both into the cap. Y'all don't have to see me pouring them and mixing equal parts, do you? I didn't think so. So, like I said, mixing those equal parts. So, before you bake and set your creams, you want to make sure, oh, I forgot to tell you, usually you're baking when you have like cream foundations or liquid foundations on your face. Baking with powders is, I don't use like foundation powders by themselves because I just have too much acne to just be using powders. Just being real with you. So usually, like I said, you bake with powders when you have like a liquid or a cream foundation to set them in place. And another thing I want to tell you guys is that usually, well, I'm gonna just say, I don't feel like there's any foundation out there that does not transfer. I just don't believe that. I don't know. They transfer. I told y'all in 1,000 videos, my mom always calls me when I'm doing a video. Like, always. But anywho, I've never met a foundation that did not transfer. Point blank period. Even, you know, after like setting it and blah blah blah, it transfers. It's going to get on something. And if, you know what I'm saying, it's not a lot, it's going to be a little bit that is going to be transferring to something else. So don't believe, I just feel like don't believe the hype that, you know, there's a foundation that's not going to transfer. If you wear makeup, you know that shit gets everywhere. Point blank period. Don't fool yourself. Don't play yourself, because it's going to get on something. Point blank period. If you touch your face, it's on your hands. Don't lie to nobody and say, hey, you know, no, this foundation doesn't transfer. Don't lie to yourself. It transfers. Anywho, so basically I'm just making sure everything is in place by just going over with my beauty blender. It's looking the way that I want it to look. There aren't any creases, or not a lot of creases, like especially underneath my eye. So I'm just going back over that with my beauty blender. You can take a triangle sponge, or you can take your fingers and do the same thing that I'm doing with the beauty blender. Now I'm just taking a little bit of that powder, that mixture of the powder, making sure that I kind of like shake out the excess, and I'm just going to press this into my skin, not like a whole lot, but just press it onto my skin in the areas where I highlighted it, because I want to set those in place with this powder right here. And like I said earlier, by putting powder on top of it, it holds that area in place. And basically you're going to do that all over your face, because you do want your foundation to stay put. You want your highlight to stay put. You want your concealer to stay put. You want your contour to stay put. So you always want to try and set your face with a powder. It doesn't have to be this much. It can be a whole lot less, you know, just by dusting it over your face, but that wouldn't be baking. What am I trying to say? But I was going to say, like, if you have like normal to dry skin, you can just take a big fluffy brush and just kind of dust it over your face, like I was saying, and just use a little bit, and that'll be just totally fine too. But right now we're doing baking, so this is what baking is. And what I'm doing underneath my contour is just cutting that contour to make it as sharp as I want it to be. And that's why I put it underneath my contour area. But you don't have to, you know, cut your contour apart. That's just something us girls, some of us makeup artists like to do, so that our cheekbones look really chiseled and up high. So this is what everything should look like when you're done placing the powder everywhere, all over your face. This is baking. You're gonna let that sit for about, you know, as long as you want it to be, 5 to 10 minutes. If you have normal or dry skin, You don't want to go more than like a minute or two because it's just not going to look good for you. You're going to look very cakey. So do not leave it for too long, okay? Do not. Normal to dry skin. If you have oily skin or combination skin, you can leave it on probably 5 to 10 minutes or longer. So I've let it stay on my face for about 10 minutes now. And now I'm just taking like any kind of brush and I'm just going to dust away all that excess powder and kind of blend in whatever else is left on my face, but just mainly dust it off. You want to take all that away. You don't want it just sitting on top of your face for the rest of your foundation, okay? So I was rudely interrupted by my mom, so yeah. Like, anytime I start a video, she always ends up calling me. I've said this in like 1,000 videos. She just always does that. So what I'm doing is basically taking like a small brush and I'm sweeping away like that excess powder that did not soak up some of the oils from that cream foundation. And basically, you are done with your baking process. So I've baked my highlighted areas on my face, and it's going to make sure that my highlighted areas are popping, and that foundation is going to that foundation and that highlighter is that. So basically it's going to make sure that my foundation and that highlighted area is going to stay in place. I'm going to have like an extra 3-4 hours of wear time just because I baked my face. I set it with some powder. And you know, the putting powder on your face helps your foundation to stay on longer. Not just your primer and your setting spray, but setting your creams and your liquids with a powder helps your foundation or your highlight to stay on longer. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my face by showing you how to powder contour. So I'm going to take my Anastasia palette. It's one that I created with my own colors from her her site. So whenever you're contouring basically creates shadows and sculpts out your face. You can take bronzers, you can take colors that are perfect contour shades or whatever. Usually whenever you're like my shade, you want to take browns, warm browns, not too much ashy browns. You have to, you know, be very like aware of like things like, you know, ashy brown shades. So today I'm going to take one of my favorite shades, and this one is Cinnamon by Anastasia. It's a contour refill. And what I'm going to do is sculpt out my cheekbones, and basically it's going to be in the area where right here in the hollows of my cheekbones. This shade right here is going to warm up my face because it has like a reddish tone to it, and it basically brings back in color to my face after using that baking powder. I lost a little bit of my color, so now I want to bring back warmth and color into my face by adding that shade. And I'm taking a Real Techniques contour brush, which is basically perfect for contouring my cheekbones and a little bit above my forehead. Which, if you have a small forehead like me, you really don't have to like contour it, but I just like the way it looks. I'm gonna add like a little bit on my jawline, not too much, just a little bit. And because you can kind of see like how chiseled my cheeks are and how like lifted they are, that's what contouring basically is. And now I'm going to take another shade, which is like really, really dark. You don't have to take anything this dark like I do, but I just like to be really, really, really chiseled. So I'm going to take that like in the same area where I contoured at. And now for my nose contour, I'm going to take a smaller brush whenever I can find it. This is a Dillium Tool 776 brush. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the shade Copper Brown by Anastasia. It's like a really neutral brown shade. And I'm going to take that shade like down the sides of my nose. And up into my brows. And what I like to do is I like to take my foundation brush and just go back over it. And it basically kind of makes sure that my lines aren't like super harsh. Like so. And basically there you have it. That is my highlighting, baking, contouring video for you guys. If you want to know any other how-to things, then make sure you leave me a comment down below letting me know like what you want to see next, what you want me to kind of teach you, and I'll try my best to teach you. And maybe I won't like make it like a 30-minute video on something. I can just kind of teach you a little bit faster than this, but this is my first kind of like how-to in a while, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please thumbs up if you liked the video, and mwah, I'll see you next time. Bye. And you guys, I'm so sorry for how much I was out of focus. I'm gonna have to start using my computer so that I will know when I'm in focus and out of focus, and I promise you later on everything's gonna be great.